Anna, a 10-year-old girl, was walking along the sidewalk on a rainy day. Hugging her package of homemade cookies, a gift from her grandmother, she hopped in the puddles, her red boots shining under the dim light of the cloudy day. With curious eyes and a kind heart, she always paid attention to her surroundings, noticing small details that hurried adults often overlooked. At the corner of the street, under the awning of a closed shop, Anna saw a man sitting on the sidewalk, huddled against the cold. His tattered clothes and vacant gaze told a story of suffering and abandonment. Feeling a surge of compassion, Anna approached him with a shy and sweet smile. "Are you hungry?" she asked, offering her last cookie, one of her grandmother's favorites, made with care and love. The man, surprised by the unexpected kindness, accepted the cookie with trembling hands, his eyes filling with tears as a small smile appeared on his weary face. He couldn't remember the last time someone had been so kind to him. Anna, with her childlike curiosity, sat down beside him, ignoring the raindrops trickling down the awning and soaking her socks. "My name is Anna. What's yours?" she asked, her voice full of innocent concern. "John," he replied, his voice hoarse from disuse. "Thank you so much, Anna. This cookie is the best thing I've eaten in a long time." Intrigued and determined to learn more about the man who seemed so sad, Anna continued to talk with John. He revealed that he was a chef, a talented cook who had lost everything due to a series of misfortunes that had led him to the streets. John's life had been a succession of dark days until that moment of light brought by Anna. At that moment, a bond of hope began to form between Anna's innocent generosity and John's desperate need for a second chance. Anna's small act of kindness ignited a spark of renewal in John's weary soul, planting the seed of a transformation that no one could have foreseen. With the rain falling gently around them, Anna and John continued their conversation. Each word exchanged seemed to strengthen an invisible bond between them, something that transcended the mere exchange of a cookie. As John chewed slowly, savoring the sweet taste of the homemade cookie, Anna watched him closely, noticing the depth of sadness in his eyes. "How did you end up here, John?" Anna asked, her voice full of genuine concern. John sighed deeply, and with a faltering voice, he began to tell his story. "I was a chef," he began, nostalgia evident in his tone. "I had my own restaurant, a small place, but very beloved by my customers. Life was good. I loved cooking and seeing people happy with my food." He paused, painful memories reflected in his distant gaze. But then, everything started to fall apart. A fire destroyed the restaurant, and I didn't have insurance. I lost everything at once. I tried to get back on my feet, but the accumulated debts and lack of support left me with no options. Gradually, I lost everything, even my home. Anna listened attentively, her large, expressive eyes reflecting John's sorrow. "That's terrible, John. It must have been very hard for you." "It was," John agreed, his hands still trembling as he held the empty cookie package. "I ended up living on the streets, trying to find a way back, but I never could. People ignored me, and I started to lose hope." Anna, with her childlike wisdom, placed her delicate hand on John's. "But you're not alone now. I'm here, and we're going to find a way to help you." The simplicity of Anna's words brought a glimmer of hope to John's heart. He realized that, despite all the adversities, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, represented by the kindness of a girl who, unknowingly, was beginning to change his life. With the rain now just a murmur in the background, Anna's determination grew. She knew that somehow she needed to help John reclaim his life. The generosity that had started with a simple cookie was about to set off a chain of events that no one could predict. The next day, Anna woke up with a new determination shining in her eyes. As she had breakfast with her mother, she couldn't get John out of her mind. His kindness and his story had deeply touched her. Determined to help, she began to think of ways to change his life. "Mom, you know that man we saw yesterday, John?" Anna began cautiously. "Yes, dear. What about him?" her mother replied, vaguely recalling the brief encounter. "He was a famous chef before he lost everything," Anna explained. "I want to help him. He's a good person who just needs a chance." Anna's mother was surprised by her daughter's determination, but also touched by her generous spirit. "How do you plan to help him, dear?" she asked, curious. Anna thought for a moment before responding. "We can start by raising money for him. I also thought about talking to Uncle Carlos. He has that restaurant, remember? Maybe he can offer John a job." Anna's mother smiled, admiring her daughter's maturity. "That's a good idea, Anna. We can make a post on social media and explain John's story. Who knows, we might get a lot of help." Excited, Anna grabbed her notebook and started writing a letter to Uncle Carlos, explaining John's situation and asking for help. She also wrote an emotional post for social media, describing her encounter with John and her desire to help him rebuild his life. On social media, John's story quickly gained attention. People from all over the city started commenting and sharing Anna's post, offering donations and words of support. The commotion was so great that even local newspapers became interested in the story, further increasing its visibility. Meanwhile, Anna and her mother went to visit Uncle Carlos at his restaurant. When they arrived, Anna handed over the letter she had written, explaining everything. "John has a lot of talent, Uncle Carlos. He just needs an opportunity to show what he can do," Anna pleaded. Uncle Carlos read the letter carefully, his eyes softening as he absorbed each word. "Anna, I trust your judgment. If you say he deserves a chance, I'll help him. We can schedule a meeting with him to see how he performs in the kitchen." Anna beamed with hope and gratitude. She knew she was on the right path to making a real difference in John's life. The generosity that began with a simple cookie was now transforming into a movement of compassion and solidarity, something that would change the lives of everyone involved. The following weekend, Anna and her mother found John in the same place where they had first met him. He was sitting on the bench, staring at the horizon with an expression of resignation. When he saw Anna approaching, his eyes lit up slightly, though there was still a shadow of doubt in his gaze. "Anna, it's so good to see you again," John said, trying to hide the surprise and curiosity in his voice.
John.
"How are you today?" Anna asked, sitting down beside him. "Well, taking it one day at a time," he replied with a sad smile. Anna then began to tell John about everything that had happened since they met. She talked about the social media post, the donations, and the community's interest. John listened attentively, hardly believing that all this was happening because of a cookie. "John, my Uncle Carlos has a restaurant in town," Anna continued, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "He wants to meet you and see how you do in the kitchen. He's willing to give you a chance." John remained silent for a moment, processing the information. He never expected that such a simple act of kindness could lead to such a great opportunity. "You really did all this for me, Anna?" he asked, his voice filled with emotion. "Of course, John. You deserve a second chance," Anna replied with conviction. "And I believe you can do it." With tears in his eyes, John nodded. "I don't know how to thank you, Anna. I really don't." "You don't need to thank me, John. "Just come with us and show Uncle Carlos what you can do," Anna said, holding his hand firmly. They stood up together and, with Anna and her mother by his side, John walked towards Uncle Carlos's restaurant. During the walk, he couldn't help but feel hopeful, something he hadn't felt in a long time. The presence of Anna and her mother beside him gave him courage, and he was determined not to disappoint them. When they arrived at the restaurant, they were greeted by Uncle Carlos, who shook John's hand warmly. "It's a pleasure to meet you, John. Anna has told me many good things about you." "The pleasure is mine, sir, and I am very grateful for this opportunity," John replied, feeling humble and thankful. "All right, let's see what you can do," said Uncle Carlos, leading John to the kitchen. As John began to work, Anna and her mother watched with anticipation. Every movement John made in the kitchen was precise and full of passion, revealing the talented chef he was. Uncle Carlos watched attentively, impressed by John's skill and dedication. Time passed quickly, and soon the dishes John had prepared were ready to be tasted. Uncle Carlos tried each one, savoring the complex and perfectly balanced flavors. When he finished, he smiled broadly. "John, you are truly talented. I would love to have you working here in my restaurant," said Uncle Carlos, extending his hand to formalize the offer. John, emotional, shook Uncle Carlos's hand firmly. "Thank you, sir. Thank you for this chance." Anna, watching the scene, felt her heart overflow with joy. That simple gesture of sharing a cookie had turned into something much bigger, bringing hope and a new life to John. She knew that this was just the beginning of an incredible journey for him, and she was happy to have been a part of it. After weeks of hard work at Uncle Carlos's restaurant, John had become an indispensable figure in the kitchen. His dishes were not only delicious, but also carried a creativity and passion that captivated both customers and the team. News about the chef discovered on the streets spread, attracting curious onlookers and food critics to the restaurant. Anna continued to visit John frequently, following his progress and becoming a reliable and motivating friend. They shared conversations about dreams, struggles, and the power of second chances. During one of these visits, Anna noticed something that deeply intrigued her. "John, I never asked about that necklace you always wear. It seems very special," Anna said, pointing to the simple yet elegant pendant he always wore around his neck. John looked at the necklace and sighed. "This necklace belonged to my mother. She gave it to me before she passed away. She said it would always remind me of where I came from and the love she had for me. It's the only thing I have left of her." Anna observed the necklace more closely and felt a strange sensation, as if she had seen it before. "John, can I ask you something? Where did your mother get this necklace?" John frowned, trying to recall. "She said it was a gift from a very dear friend, someone who helped her during a difficult time. I never knew who it was." Anna was thoughtful. "I think I've seen this necklace before. My grandmother has one just like it. She always talks about a friend she had to leave behind when she moved to another city. It might be a coincidence, but it looks very similar." Anna's curiosity led her to ask more about John's life story. As he recounted his childhood and the hardships he faced after his mother's death, the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together. Anna decided to take John to meet her grandmother, thinking there might be a bigger connection than they could imagine. When they arrived at Anna's grandmother's house, an elderly woman still full of life and energy greeted them warmly. "Grandma, this is John, the chef I told you about. He has something I'd like you to see," Anna said, handing John's necklace to her grandmother. Anna's grandmother took the necklace with trembling hands, and tears began to stream down her face. "This necklace. It belonged to my friend Clara. I gave it to her when we said goodbye, as a reminder of our time together. I can't believe I'm seeing this again." John, shocked, asked, "Clara? That was my mother's name. How is it possible that you knew each other?" Anna's grandmother explained that she and Clara were childhood friends, inseparable until life took them down different paths. Clara had moved away with the promise to return, but they never heard from each other again. Realizing the connection between their stories, Anna, John, and her grandmother were overwhelmed by the unexpected discovery. This encounter not only revealed to John a crucial piece of his family history, but also created a deep bond between him and Anna's family. John now understood that the necklace symbolized not only his mother's love, but also the friendship and kindness that had crossed generations. And, for the first time in many years, he felt truly part of a family. With the revelation of the connection between their families, John's life began to change even more rapidly. Anna's grandmother, Mrs. Helena, was delighted to learn more about the fate of her dear friend Clara through John. She welcomed him as if he were a grandson, filling him with stories about his mother and the times they spent together. John felt more connected and loved than ever before. He realized that the friendship between Clara and Mrs. Helena not only united their pasts, but also created a shared future of affection and mutual support. Meanwhile, the restaurant where John worked was thriving with its growing popularity. John's innovative dishes and his story of overcoming adversity attracted the attention of the local media. Reporters and food critics lined up to taste his creations and write about the journey of the chef from the streets. One busy afternoon at the restaurant, John was focused in the kitchen, creating a new dish, when he heard a familiar voice. He looked up and saw Mrs. Helena entering the kitchen accompanied by Anna. They had a sparkle of excitement in their eyes. "John, we have a proposal for you," Anna began, visibly excited. Mrs. Helena continued, "John, you have brought new life to the restaurant and to our family. We have been thinking of something that could further unite our stories and offer you a unique opportunity." John, curious, stepped closer to listen more attentively. "We want to open a new restaurant," Anna said, smiling. "But not just any restaurant. We want it to be a place where your creativity can shine, where we can honor the memory of my mother Clara and celebrate the new family we've formed. We want you to be the executive chef and partner." John was speechless, his eyes wide with surprise and emotion. The idea of having his own restaurant, where he could create freely while honoring his mother, was a dream he had never imagined possible. Mrs. Helena placed her hand on John's shoulder. "You have incredible talent, John, and we want to give you the platform to show that to the world. This is our gift to you, to continue Clara's legacy and create something beautiful together." With tears in his eyes, John thanked them deeply. I don't know what to say. This is more than I could ever dream of. Thank you so much. I will work hard to make this restaurant a success, not just for me, but for all of us." With the new proposal, John felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was not just cooking to make a living. He was now creating a bright future for himself and his new family, keeping alive the spirit of his mother and the friendship that had crossed generations. After accepting Mrs. Helena and Anna's proposal, John dove headfirst into the new restaurant project. He spent days and nights planning every detail, from the menu to the decor. John wanted to create a space that reflected his mother Clara's memory, Mrs. Helena's generosity, and Anna's vibrant energy. Anna and John spent hours discussing ideas, exchanging inspirations, and planning each detail with care and dedication. They wanted the restaurant to be a place where people not only ate but also felt at home, enveloped in a welcoming atmosphere full of stories. Mrs. Helena, with her vast life experience, contributed valuable ideas about managing the restaurant and the importance of creating a cozy environment for the customers. She made sure the restaurant had a personal and familial touch, something that reflected the eternal friendship between her and Clara. Meanwhile, John worked tirelessly on creating a menu that honored his mother and brought innovation to the local cuisine. He incorporated old recipes his mother had taught him, adding modern twists and fresh ingredients to create unique and memorable dishes. One of John's greatest inspirations was a special dish his mother always made on Sunday nights, a comforting soup with simple yet flavorful ingredients. He decided to incorporate this soup into the menu as a tribute to Clara, calling it Memory Soup. Each spoonful would be a journey to the past, a connection between generations. The day of the restaurant's grand opening finally arrived. The walls were decorated with old photographs of Clara and Mrs. Helena, reminding everyone of the deep friendship that had united their lives. The atmosphere was warm and elegant, with rustic wooden tables, linen tablecloths, and fresh flower arrangements. The first customers began to arrive, curious to taste the dishes created by John. Mrs. Helena and Anna greeted the guests with warm smiles while John prepared in the kitchen, eager to see the reactions to his creations. When the dishes began to be served, the restaurant was filled with murmurs of admiration. The memory soup, in particular, touched the hearts of the customers, bringing them an inexplicable comfort. Many commented on the feeling of tasting something made with love and dedication, something that went beyond mere food. John watched everything from afar, moved by the customers' response. He knew that this restaurant was not just a business, but a tribute to his mother and the strength of human connections. He felt that he was finally realizing his dream and honoring Clara's memory in a meaningful and lasting way. At the end of the night, Mrs. Helena approached John with tears in her eyes. "You did a wonderful job, John. Clara would be so proud of you. This restaurant is a living testament to the love and friendship that unite us." John, with his heart full of gratitude, replied, "All of this is for her and for you. Thank you for believing in me and giving me this opportunity. Together, we will make this restaurant a special place for everyone." With the successful opening, John, Anna, and Mrs. Helena knew they had created something truly unique. The restaurant was not just a place for meals, but a sanctuary of memories and new beginnings, where every customer became part of a larger and more beautiful story. The success of the restaurant was not limited to just the delicious dishes and the welcoming atmosphere. Soon, the surrounding community began to get involved in unexpected and exciting ways. The people who visited the restaurant felt something special, a connection that went beyond the food. Anna, with her contagious energy and radiant smile, became the restaurant's ambassador in the community. She started organizing weekly events where local residents could share their own recipes and stories. These special nights, called story dinners, attracted people of all ages and backgrounds, creating a deep sense of belonging and unity. During one of these events, an elderly lady named Marta brought a recipe book that had been passed down through generations in her family. She moved everyone by sharing how each recipe in the book carried memories of special moments. John, touched by Marta's story, decided to incorporate one of the book's recipes into the restaurant's menu, thus honoring the community's culinary traditions. The popularity of these story dinners grew, and the restaurant quickly became a gathering place where people could celebrate their cultural and family heritages. Mrs. Helena, always observant, noticed how these nights were transforming the restaurant into something much greater than she and Clara had ever dreamed. It was as if Clara were present in every laugh, in every shared story. In addition to community events, the restaurant also began to get involved in charity projects. Honor suggested that part of the profits be used to help needy families in the area. With the support of John and Mrs. Helena, they launched a Solidarity Meals program, where hot meals were delivered to people who couldn't afford them. The community, realizing the restaurant's positive impact, came together even more. Volunteers started to come forward to help with meal deliveries and event organization. There was a growing sense that everyone was part of something meaningful and transformative. On a sunny afternoon, while John was preparing memory soup in the kitchen, he was surprised by an unexpected visit. It was a young reporter from a local newspaper who had heard about the restaurant and wanted to write a story about the community initiative. The reporter, named Emily, interviewed John, Honor, and Mrs. Helena, capturing their stories and the essence of the restaurant. The article was published the following week, and soon the restaurant was receiving visitors from different places, all curious to taste the food and experience the unique atmosphere that had formed there. With the increase in popularity, John realized he had the responsibility to maintain the restaurant's authenticity and original spirit. He continued to work hard, always remembering his mother's lessons and the unwavering support of Mrs. Helena and Honor. On a special night, during a story dinner, John made an emotional announcement. This restaurant was created with love, and it is love that keeps it alive. Each one of you is part of this story, and together, we will continue to create memories and make a difference in people's lives. The response was a wave of applause and tears of joy. The community had become a family, united by the desire to share, care, and celebrate life. John, Honor, and Mrs. Helena looked out at the room full of smiling faces and knew they had created something truly special, something Clara would have been proud of. And so, the restaurant continued to flourish, a place where every meal was a tribute to the past, a present of love, and a future of hope. As the restaurant continued to attract local community attention, its fame began to spread beyond the city's borders. Emily's report caught the attention of several food blogs and culinary critics, who became curious about the place that was winning hearts and palates. It didn't take long for a famous food critic, known for his rigorous and detailed reviews, to decide to visit the restaurant. John, Honor, and Mrs. Helena were nervous but determined to showcase the best of themselves and the restaurant. They knew this was a unique opportunity to share their story and their food with a larger audience. On the night of the visit, the restaurant was full, as usual. There was a buzz of anticipation in the air as everyone waited for the critic's verdict. John prepared each dish with special care, putting all his love and dedication into every detail. Honor, with her welcoming manner, took care of the customers, ensuring everyone felt at home. The critic ordered several dishes from the menu, including memory soup and Marta's special recipe, the lady who had shared her recipe book. Each dish was served with a brief story, narrated by Honor, explaining the origin and significance of each one. The critic seemed impressed, not only with the food but with the warm atmosphere and the emotional connection that permeated the restaurant. After finishing his meal, the critic asked to speak with John. When John approached, the critic stood up and shook his hand. "You have achieved something rare here, John. It's not just the food that is exceptional, but the way you and your team have managed to create a space that celebrates community and family. This place is a gem." The review was published a few days later, with enthusiastic praise highlighting not only the quality of the dishes but the soul of the restaurant. A meal at John's restaurant is not just about flavors, but about stories, memories, and the magic of transforming simple ingredients into unforgettable experiences. This is a place where the past and present meet, creating a future full of hope and love. With the publication of the review, the restaurant gained national recognition. People from all over the country started traveling to experience the food and atmosphere that so many praised. Reservations began to be made months in advance, and John, Honor, and Mrs. Helena realized they would need to expand to accommodate the growing demand. Despite the success, John never lost sight of what really mattered. He continued to prepare each dish with the same care and love, always remembering his mother's lessons and the support of the community. Honor, now recognized as one of the main reasons for the restaurant's success, continued to create events that strengthened the bonds between local residents and visitors. With the growing popularity, John and Honor began receiving invitations to television shows and culinary events, where they could share their recipes and stories. In every appearance, they highlighted the importance of community and family, inspiring others to value their own stories and connections. One day, John received a letter from a television producer inviting him to participate in a national cooking show. The proposal was for him to present his story and teach his recipes to an even larger audience. John, initially hesitant, was encouraged by Honor and Mrs. Helena to accept the challenge. The participation in the show was a tremendous success. John, with his authenticity and passion for cooking, won the hearts of the viewers. He not only shared his recipes, but also the stories and people who had made the restaurant what it was. The response was overwhelming, with a flood of new customers and admirers. Back at the restaurant, John, Honor, and Mrs. Helena reflected on how much they had achieved together. They knew that success was not only measured by the number of customers or positive reviews, but by the impact they had on people's lives. And so, they continued to work with the same dedication and love, always ready to welcome everyone who crossed the restaurant's door, sharing not just a meal, but a part of their lives. With the restaurant gaining national fame, John, Honor, and Mrs. Helena's lives were busier than ever. The constant flow of customers, fully booked reservations, and the pressure to maintain excellence were not easy tasks. However, amid this whirlwind of activity, an unexpected visit was about to bring a new chapter to the restaurant's story. One afternoon, while John was in the kitchen, Honor was attending to customers, and Mrs. Helena was organizing reservations. An elegant man with gray hair entered the restaurant. He seemed out of place, looking around with a mix of curiosity and nostalgia. When Honor approached to greet him, he calmly asked if he could speak with John. Curious, Honor led the man to the kitchen, where John was busy preparing a special dish. Seeing the visitor, John wiped his hands on his apron and, with a welcoming smile, greeted the man. "How can I help you?" John asked, not knowing that this meeting would change his life forever. The man introduced himself as Eduardo, a renowned international chef. He explained that he had heard about the restaurant and its story through reviews and television programs. Eduardo then revealed something that completely surprised John. He knew John's mother. Eduardo recounted that many years ago, he had worked in a small restaurant where he met John's mother. They became close friends, and she always spoke of her son with great affection and pride. Eduardo said that after learning of her passing, he always wanted to find John, but life took him elsewhere, and he never had the chance. Now, seeing John's success and passion for cooking, Eduardo knew he had to visit the restaurant. John was deeply moved by Eduardo's words. It was as if a part of his mother had returned to him through the memories and stories shared by Eduardo. They spent hours talking, reminiscing about old stories, and sharing culinary secrets. Eduardo then revealed another surprise. He wanted to collaborate with John and help expand the restaurant, bringing new ideas and recipes that could attract even more customers. He also wanted to publish a cookbook in honor of John's mother, compiling all the recipes and stories she had shared with him. With tears in his eyes, John accepted Eduardo's proposal. He knew that with the help of such a renowned chef and with a strong connection to his mother, the restaurant could reach new heights. Above all, He felt he was honoring his mother's memory in a way she had always wished. With Eduardo's arrival, the restaurant underwent a new phase of transformations. John and Eduardo worked together to create a special menu that combined old traditions with modern touches, drawing even more attention from the media and food critics. Anna, always by John's side, continued to ensure that every customer felt at home, while Mrs. Helena kept everything organized. News of the collaboration between John and Eduardo quickly spread, bringing a new wave of curious food lovers to the restaurant. Reservations were booked months in advance, and the cookbook in honor of John's mother became a bestseller, with thousands of copies sold across the country. But for John, the restaurant's success was not just about fame and recognition. It was about keeping his mother's memory alive, honoring his roots, and the joy of sharing love and stories through food. And so, with the support of Anna, Mrs. Helena, and now Eduardo, John continued on his path, always with a heart full of gratitude and hope for the future. With Eduardo by his side, John saw his restaurant not only thrive but also transform into a symbol of resilience and passion. The collaboration between the two chefs created a menu that delighted and surprised customers, maintaining traditional roots but with a touch of innovation that Eduardo brought from his vast experience. News of the partnership quickly spread, and soon the restaurant was attracting visitors from all over the country and even from abroad. Features in specialized magazines and appearances on television programs elevated the restaurant's profile to new heights. The lines for reservations grew long, and the demand increased so much that John and Eduardo began considering expansion to new locations. Anna, always by John's side, became the restaurant manager, ensuring that every detail was perfect and that every customer received the warm service that had become the establishment's trademark. Mrs. Helena, with her wisdom and experience, continued to be the restaurant's soul, keeping the team motivated and focused on excellence. However, success brought new challenges. John found himself needing to balance growth with maintaining the quality and family spirit that had always characterized the restaurant. He knew that to expand, he needed to find people who shared the same passion and dedication. It was then that John and Eduardo decided to open a culinary training program within the restaurant, aimed at young people from disadvantaged communities. The idea was to provide opportunities for talents who would otherwise not have the chance to shine in gastronomy. The program quickly gained popularity, and many graduates became an integral part of the restaurant's team, bringing new ideas and energy. As the restaurant expanded and new branches were opened, John never lost sight of what truly mattered: his mother's memory and the desire to make a difference in people's lives. He frequently organized charitable events and community meals, ensuring that the restaurant's success also benefited the surrounding community. At one of these events, John decided to reveal a surprise. Together with Eduardo and Anna, he announced the creation of a foundation in honor of his mother, dedicated to supporting aspiring young chefs and promoting culinary education in disadvantaged areas. The foundation would offer scholarships, internships, and development opportunities, ensuring that his mother's legacy continued to inspire and transform lives. The foundation became an immediate success, attracting donations and support from renowned chefs, food critics, and food lovers worldwide. For John, seeing the positive impact he was generating in so many young lives was the realization of a dream he had never imagined possible. Amid all this growth and expansion, John always found time for moments of reflection and gratitude. He frequently visited his mother's grave, bringing flowers and updating her on the restaurant's achievements and challenges. For him, every step taken was a tribute to her, a way of keeping the love and passion she had instilled in him alive. And so, with Anna's unwavering support, Mrs. Helena's wisdom, and Eduardo's inspiring partnership, John continued on his path, always with a heart full of gratitude, love, and the certainty that he was building a legacy that would last for generations. John's restaurant had become a renowned institution, known not only for its exceptional cuisine but also for the positive impact it had on the community and the culinary world. The partnership with Eduardo transformed John's vision into a reality he had never imagined possible. Years passed, and the foundation created in honor of John's mother flourished, supporting hundreds of young talents in realizing their dreams. Many graduates of the training program now ran their own restaurants, contributing to diversity and innovation in the culinary arts. John frequently received letters and visits from these young chefs, expressing their gratitude and sharing their own success stories. At the main restaurant, now known as Casa de Ana, in honor of John's mother, customers still marveled at the unique combination of traditional dishes and innovative creations. The restaurant's name served as a constant reminder of the love and dedication that were the foundations of the business. Eduardo, now an integral partner and longtime friend, felt a deep sense of fulfillment seeing how the small bakery where he had started had transformed into a culinary empire. He and John continued to collaborate closely, always seeking new ways to innovate and maintain the excellence that customers expected. Ana, who had become a central figure in the restaurant's operation, was now the mother of 2 children. She and John passed on their passion for cooking and community service to their children, hoping that one day they too would join the family business. Their lives were filled with love, hard work, and shared moments of happiness and celebration. Mrs. Helena, though older, still made regular appearances at the restaurant, offering advice and reminiscing about the early days. Her presence was a constant source of inspiration and strength for John and the entire team. Each of her visits was celebrated as a special event, and she always brought with her a quiet wisdom that helped guide the restaurant through times of change. On one of these special days, John organized a grand commemorative event to mark the restaurant's anniversary. Friends, family, foundation alumni, and loyal customers gathered to celebrate the legacy of Casa de Ana. During the celebration, John took to the stage, emotionally charged, to give a speech. Today we celebrate not only the success of this restaurant but also the memory of my mother, Ana, who taught me the true meaning of love and dedication. We celebrate the strength of our community and the hope we have for the future. And above all, we celebrate the lives that have been touched and transformed along this journey. The crowd applauded, and tears of joy were shed as John looked around and saw the impact of his work and vision. He knew that the restaurant was more than a business. It was a symbol of resilience, love, and hope. As the night progressed, John stepped away from the crowd for a moment of silence. He looked up at the starry sky, feeling a deep connection with his mother. "I hope you are proud of me, Mom," he murmured, feeling the gentle breeze as a loving response. And so, Casa de Ana continued to thrive, a beacon of hope and a testament to the transformative power of love, kindness, and dedication. With the support of his family and friends, John knew that his mother's legacy would live on forever, inspiring future generations to dream, persevere, and make a difference in the world.